Welcome to Comics and Cocktails with Cliff. I've got Ray, also known as DM Ray. You may know him from his comic book Madcaps, which of course has a new Kickstarter that we're going to be talking about tonight. And welcome everybody. I hope you're all doing well this evening. Thanks for jumping in the chats. Ray has got a virgin drink, but I have my rum and coke to get me through this.
I have me a ginger ale, and it's cranberry ginger ale and OJ.
Look at that. Cranberry ginger ale and OJ. Good
Delicious.
Lord. Well, I hope I don't pass out on you because I'm the one drinking.
You can ask my best man. We go to I usually be DD, and it's good time. It's good time. I have no problem being around.
It's not a good time when you're picking people up off the floor. It's not good for that.
No, not at the moment. You go 5 years down the road. Good stories, you know.
Ron, John's Comics for Kids, C Bizzle, all welcome. Thank you. All right, let's do the paperwork first. Let me just state my thank yous to all the subscribers: Chris the Comic Vet, Mad Spidey, Scotty Vaughn, the Council of Comics. Let me start over. All right, Dr. Von Hoots, Comics from the Spiral Dimension, Brian LCS, Scotty Vaughn, S Vaughn 82, DJ Links, Mad Spidey, the Comic Vet, Anachronic Comics, Dr. Doom's Fan Club, the Council of Comics, Take Prime, Hazu, The Watcher, Circumstances, Trev the Shipping Guru, Omnibo, Wellbore, 2 Megatherion, Sticksboy73, Ben Compton, Tony at Comiverse, and Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. Thank you all for your support, and everyone else who's mentioned here. But yes, so all the membership money is going to support the Hyde Park Food Pantry in Hyde Park, New York. So thank you guys for all of that. And now we can get back to our guest and your comments and my drinking. Bradaz, welcome.
Cliff, can you send me a link for people to watch? I'm just putting it on my Facebook profile.
Of course I can. Hi, Bradazzle. What is up? Shout out to you. Have we met? Jay says, Brooklyn, welcome. We have now. Exactly. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Where are the details of this thing that I'm looking for? That I clearly had sitting next to me. All right, now I'm pasting it to you. All right, there we go, sir.
Beautiful.
It's rough when these things are. It's a little bit rough when you're solo on these things.
I hear you, and it's definitely hats off. There are people that have a team, and the people that just do it by themselves. It's an impressive thing. It's not in my wheelhouse of talent, so I won't literally take my hat off. But hats off to you. That's for darn sure.
You will be keeping the hat on and maintaining hat anonymity this evening. All right. Berdazzle is Brianna Ray. Okay. She loves Masters of the Universe, and you could go check out her channel. I'm going to subscribe. I'll put the link in the chat. There you go, folks. Go check her out. Okay. All right, we're looking good over there. You're looking good over here. You know, we can talk comics. We can talk all sorts of things. All right, so let's start with getting to know you. When did you start actually reading comics yourself?
Before my memories. Early. Yeah, before I was born, I was reading it in the womb. No, before I could remember. I have a brother who's 5 years older than me, and he loves comic books. His favorite is The Incredible Hulk. He would talk all about them. I was born in 84, so as we start pushing the end of the 80s, I would start seeing he'd get a comic off a comic rack, and I would read through it. And I have very vivid imagery of specific comics. I couldn't tell you which ones they are, but I remember Hulk in an arena fighting these giant brown, not quite lions, in some type of on an alien planet. And it was just really cool. The no other medium can do this, in my opinion, as well. Not even film.
Oh.
The balance of showing and telling. So you can show a fight, you can talk about what's going through their mind, and then if you're really good at putting a comic together, when to hold back on one or the other and letting one or the other take over. And I mean, film is kind of nice and all, but to make a statement with a picture that's not moving and convey the same message, that's quite a talent, in my opinion. And when throughout the 80s, you had, and I've said this on other podcasts, you take toys, you take cartoons, you take comic books. All those companies decided, you know what? We can bleed more money out of our fans' parents' wallets if we combine our forces. So here's a comic and a cartoon. Here's also the toys. You can act them out. Here you can be Transformers, G.I. Joe, or Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. The Incredible Hulk had a season, which was really, really awesome. Except for the fact that Bruce Banner, when he turned back into Banner, his clothes heal, but we'll ignore that minor detail. And
it was for kids. It was for kids.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember specifically Brave Star, which is not as commonly known, but one of my favorites. By the time 1989 came around, we had Batman on the big screen, and I was very fortunate to live through these times. And as we got into the 90s, you have something like Spider-Man, the animated series, what is now visited as labeled now as X-Men 97. We have the obvious Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, Batman the Animated Series, and there was a big shift in comic books, and a lot of these cartoons breathed a lot of life and bred new fans, and because of it. Obviously, comics, especially Marvel, had some challenges going through the 90s, but it was really interesting to see the evolution of comics at the time and just grow up with it as it was happening. It was really, really cool. When I got into my adolescence and into high school, my last year of high school was when Fellowship of the Ring came out, Lord of the Rings. I never read Tolkien up to that point. Now I've read Tolkien with my kids, and they love it. But it left a really good impression on me. Because of my style of work leaving high school, I had to eventually leave where I lived. I left my parents, my family, my friends, everything. And I moved across country up here in Canada. And eventually I was always looking for excuses to hang out with my friends. And I never played tabletop before, so in this case D&D, and I suggested, I'll set up some webcams we can play. I've never done it before. It was kind of ambitious, but I was the dungeon master. I didn't use any modules, which would have been super helpful. I just kind of made my own worlds, made my own cities, all of the lore, the history, how the players would interact. And we did this I'm still doing it now with the same realm. And not all the same people all the time, but that very first story that we went through, it really stuck with me. I really liked the idea of camaraderie and combining imaginations to make a really cool end result. And the best way to put it, it's almost like our sum was bigger than our whole when we combined our efforts. I don't know if you ever watched Power Rangers back in the day, but I like to use the analogy.
I may be familiar. You know, that might be a special edition Power Rangers.
There we go. I could see the lightning bolt and the Mighty Morphin in red, and then the Power Ranger. I see it there.
You know, I don't know if you could tell, you know.
And that's I think that's Megazord on the front. I see a Lord Zed mask. But anyways, one of the things they had in Power Rangers was Ultra Zord, where they combined all their Zords to make this big killer monster destroyer. I have seen Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. I love in the first episode how Tiamat is the big bad evil boss, which is hilarious. Just enough kill.
But I was like, let's just produce the most horrifying creature in the lore, and these innocent children can be there.
Yes, exactly. So, with all of that combined, I liked basically our imaginations. We kind of, while you create homebrew content, what is your favorite OG module to your Gygax? You know what? I've always been doing homebrew. I've never used modules. I study up on the monsters and the lore behind them, and I do know famous characters, one of the biggest ones obviously being Dritz, Dro Erden, a drow, or a dark elf as they call them. But for me, I was more in my own world using somebody else's mechanics. It's kind of weird. I really like the content, but I haven't really delved deeply into things like Forgotten Realms, even though it's really cool stuff.
Listen, I am in the same situation. I've done a lot of homebrew, and but I try to include lore or bits and pieces, or I will try to follow a story and add my spin to it. And there's a classic module, and they've revamped it because it's gotten its own popularity, right? And well, we all know Tomb of Horrors, right? But that Tomb of Horrors truly is a Tomb of Horrors. But there's a classic, and it's the Village of Hamlet, right? That one's good. And I think because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there, but you're not immediately aware when you arrive, right? And you're not far from the Temple of Elemental Evil. So if you wanted to get wild with it, you could expand your adventure.
You could go accordingly.
Right, yeah, but there's another one with some lizard people, and it's one of those things where there's a few classic adventures that actually could work as a sandbox for you, and you could just move around between those areas. Yeah, the keep on the Borderlands, that's a level 1 through 3. That's
cool.
That's very standard. But again, I'm not saying go out and get all these. Oh, Against the Cult of the Reptile God. That is the one. That and the Village of Hamlet play very well together. But yes, Against the Cult of the Reptile God, that shit is great. Great. Yeah. I highly recommend. And then, of course, I think everybody's heard of Ravenloft. Yes. But of the old ones that you can easily adapt into present, I recommend those. You're welcome from both of us, Jay says, because I don't know how much I contributed to that.
Right on. But that very first homebrew that I ran, it was very ambitious. I definitely bit off a lot, but I chewed through all of it. And it had such an impression on me that a decade later, I wanted to express that story in a different medium. And I found a local artist, Evan Quiring, to do the line work. And the only thing that's different, B2 keep on Borderlands.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Personally, gotcha. Okay, so
yes.
The only thing I changed from the original story was I took out the characters my players were playing as, and I made characters inspired by the people that were playing the game. And I first started off with shout out to Evan Quiring. He did the interiors for issue 1. You can check out his stuff. You can Lucha Mysteries and also Murder City Devil, which is a very interesting modern take on Spring-Heeled Jack and other cryptid characters, which is really, really cool. The colorist for this was Dan Kemp. Dan Kemp has colored over 100 issues of Spawn, basically issue 50 to 150. Oof. And that's Jimbo Salgado's cover. That's part of it there, but that's colored by Dan Kemp. And
gorgeous.
It's statements, it just when you look at it, it looks like it has, between both talents making that cover there, you can see all the depth. You can see the things that need to stand out do, and the things that don't shimmer into the back. And it's my first cover. It's a statement. That's the best way to put it. I'm just a big fan.
It's a beautiful statement.
If you go to campaign in the top left and click on the trailer, this is a 3-issue miniseries, but that trailer is a summary of all 3 issues there.
All right.
A brawny intellectual, a devout farmer, a good-hearted charlatan, and a social facilitator. This circle of friends shall reunite in their hometown, Ivywood. Before they can depart for employment, they are interrupted by a local drug problem which carries hidden, sinister undertones. Can they survive the night? And what is the source of this danger? The bond amongst these friends may be the only metric to answer such questions.
Good time.
I love how the logo manifests there.
You could give a shout out to Philip Russert of Philbo Publishing.
Phil.
He's definitely he puts his work in promoting stuff that his name's attached to, and my product here is no different. I'm very grateful for all the help he's given me on this.
So who's our character here with the shield?
So that's a little half. He calls himself a half dwarf. He's got a dwarf father and a gnome mother, hence the lack of beard. And his name is Dunan Eni. As he started getting close to adulthood, he discovered he can actually manipulate metals, alloys, and crystalline structures such as glass and various jewels. It's
your mic is fading in and out.
Hold on. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, so Donanini, much like his gnomish mother, who has an influence on nature, he has this type of influence magically on metals and crystalline structures like glass and gems and stuff. And he figures, he doesn't actually understand why he has these abilities, but he figures it's because he's a mix of the two bloodlines.
And you are breaking up.
Again.
Again. As soon as you turn, that was like a complete sentence.
Here, hold on. Can you hear me right now?
I can hear you right now.
Okay. If this goes again, let me know and I'll switch mics.
Yeah, just apparently, whatever you do, don't turn too hard to the left.
I'm holding this cord in place. There must be something busted. Okay. All right. With that said, actually, let me double check audio. One last thing here. Microphone, USB audio device. Good. And good. And there has been any surprises yet in my mic?
This was the first.
Okay, so cool. Let me know and I'll switch mics if this happens one more time. But anyways, Dunnan has a you can see there's a telescope sticking out of his backpack, and it actually he's rigged it that it can blast raw arcana out of it, like a type of a cannon. And it's synced to his goggles, so he has to have his goggles on for it to work. But he's just I like the humor in seeing some type of entity that's under 4 feet in height and can stand up next to a tree and just blast it into splinters. I just think that's a cool little concept. Because of his father's background, he obviously he's very familiar with smithing, so you could see he has a smithing hammer in his hand. He doesn't really consider himself an aggressive or offensive individual, but he has a shield and a hammer and this little cannon to keep himself safe.
I like it. Okay, we have this question. I actually like this question, even if it is halfway around. What was the best regular book of 2024, and why is it Conan? Now, I'm not going to say it was Conan, but I will say Conan has been fantastically consistent for this year. But I'm more of a superhero person, and throughout the year, I very much have enjoyed Ultimates and Ultimate Spider-Man.
I'm very impressed. That would be a safe bet with Ultimate Spider-Man. I will give a shout out that I've been enjoying the Ewok story that takes place on Endor just after Return of the Jedi, which is a lot of fun. But Ultimate Spider-Man, I think one of the reasons I've been enjoying that one so much That book has permission not to follow a formula and not play safe. And that in a nutshell, it's refreshing to see anybody could go. Like, there's actually stakes, and if somebody dies, I'm not anticipating them getting resurrected. Yeah. And like Wolverine as an actual killbot assassin, yeah, he actually seems like a problem, a threat, as opposed to I'm in bright yellow and Magneto's got me again. Good thing I'm getting hit because I can heal. Isn't that convenient? He just seems very scary. I'm not thinking of any of that stuff. And yeah, overall ultimate, yeah, I would have to say shout out to
I love what they've done with the Russian tier. You know, Peter and Ilyana and Omega Red are like terrifying. You know?
Yeah, it's. I remember in 2000 when Bendis is like, well, what if these things happened now in 2000? And yeah, okay, things are different. I liked the idea because it's different. We can change whatever, and we don't have to worry about offending anybody, and we don't have to worry about continuation. Even little simple things like Tony Stark and Iron Man, while his armor is full of like a coolant that helps him like survive impact and stuff. I just thought that was kind of cool. But like you mentioned, now the Russians, the whole point of why were these superheroes held back because of evil Reed Richards, and they can just do whatever they want. And because of that, nobody's sitting there, that's when this part happens, because I remember this happened in the original comic 60 years ago. No, you have no idea, and it's actually entertaining now because of it.
Yeah, Aunt May is dead. Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson are awkwardly comfortable friends.
Yeah, I hear you.
I was like, what's happening here? Is there some sexual tension in the steam room? J. Jonah Jameson doesn't hate Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah, it's very different. It's always interesting to consider what they call the butterfly effect, right? The whole remove this one thing, what's the repercussions? And it's a breath of fresh air, I guess is the best way to put it.
It really is. I know one person told me one of the things they didn't like about Ultimate Spider-Man is that he gave no regard to his family whatsoever. A random stranger appeared to him as like, hey, don't you feel like you've been missing out on your destiny? Here's this tube. And then he just did it. You know?
Yeah. It's I'm pretty sure every human being reading a story, would I do that in that scenario? Like, for me to have such an empty pang to actually just buy into that, it's almost like Tony Stark was like speaking specific words that Peter's like, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. This must be legit. I don't know. Okay, let's try it.
I mean, I believe it because I think if I got some weird, super awesome, tech message talking to me like that, I'm like, I feel a hole in my life all the time. Yes, let the freaking spider bite me. You know? If I woke up skinny tomorrow and web swinging, I'll be like, woo!
Well, for me, the thought is, am I being lied to, and am I being set up for something really bad? That would be the thought that would cross my mind. But I mean, I don't blame Peter for. Let's see where this goes.
Exactly. But again, didn't consult with his wife.
Yeah.
No regard for his children. Just went right in. But I'm willing to go with the suspension of disbelief. And
that cover there.
I like this cover.
You know who drew that? That was Harvey Salterez, who drew the first year of Volume 2 of Ghost Rider in 1990.
Nice.
So I collected that comic series. Big fan. That man metaphorically had fingerprints all over my life, and Dan Kemp also colored it. That cover there, John Zalesnik, that's hand painted.
Wow.
And that fella painted the original cover art to the cartridge of Shinobi for the NES. He's also painted like a slew of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, 1998 Chaos Gate Warhammer that came out, and he did the cover art for that game. It's a real pleasure to reach out to these people. I mean, I got a bunch of no's, of course. Hey, what are you looking for work? I'm looking to get something done for an indie comic. I got my share of no's, but for these people to say, sure, I'll take a shot on you, it's very humbling.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are wonderful, including eBay haunting me right now. I'm like, leave me alone, eBay. Stop giving me offers I can't afford right now. Stop it. Oh, my goodness. Why can't I remember things that I want to remember? All right, this next cover.
So that's done. There's Donanini, of course. In the foreground, you can see a tree that he shot. You can see a smoking telescope. It's supposed to depict the first time he's ever used it, hence the expression of "I'm still alive," and it actually worked on his face. That's digital painterly style. I think I already mentioned Jenna Stark in New York. She did this, and I think she nailed it. I think she did an exceptional job.
I think she did as well. It's pretty cool. I love the glowing hammer. I love the hole through the tree stump.
Yes.
I assume this is your shadow dude.
So this is Chasgo Blundale. He is. This is done by Erica Hollis, and she's out in Chicago. This is digital art. In a nutshell, Chasgo is an uncommon form of elf known as Argers. Now, do you know, Cliff, the story of humans? If they eat a lot of silver, they actually turn blue. Do you know this?
No, I did not.
One guy was on Oprah, and basically he looks like Papa Smurf. And it sounds like I'm exaggerating. I'm not. Your skin actually turns blue, and your hair turns white and stuff. These Argers, they live in a mountain range that's riddled with silver deposits. So there's a similar effect with them. They're actually blue. Because of the silver running through their veins, they're highly resistant to magic as well. And their kind is actually quite primitive. One could argue, by definition, they'd be xenophobic. They want nothing to do with outsiders. And they believe that the mountain protects them from magic. And as long as they keep their beliefs and their relationship with the mountain high, they're immune or highly resistant to any type of outsiders and their abominable magic, as they would put it. Now, he felt his people were very dysfunctional, and he wanted to leave, but Argers have a bad reputation. They're the kind of things that kids make scary stories based off of. One time, Chasgo was visited by a being named Annette, and she gave him magical gifts. Not too different from that, how the symbiote bypassed Peter Parker's spider sense. She was able to bypass the silver in his body, and he actually has some magical abilities. So one of them, the obvious one here, is he can put on a disguise. So the way Erica made this image is him entering a lit room, but any part of his body that wasn't lit, it's to look like his actual form. As he's entering the room, that's obviously going to disappear. I think she did a terrific job. You could see that little rook piece around his neck, like a necklace. That's actually, some would call it an implement. It's his own. If he doesn't have that, he can't use any of these abilities.
Ooh. So like a focus.
Yeah, that was how you'd say it in D&D, of course, yes. So one of my favorite things about issue 1, which was funded last April, I really liked how the group got together, consisting of the little guy, Dunnan, wanting to get his friends back together for a job. You don't find out what the job is, and they don't even get to talk about it because everything goes sideways. They're caught up in the middle of an undead outbreak, and 3 of them almost get killed, which is kind of funny. I didn't want these guys to be the most powerful beings in the world. At one point, as 3 of them are almost about to get overwhelmed by undead, they're saved by some guards or some archers. This is the equivalent of like Spock getting saved by a red shirt, if you will. And I really wanted to show since these guys are not infallible and they're not like demigods or anything like that, there is a possibility that they're in trouble. I wanted to have some weight and some gravity to their decisions.
Someone could die here.
Yes, absolutely. And I really liked in the first one the dynamic of, I found it difficult making sure I had a good balance with all 4 characters. Eventually, I was able to lay it out accordingly. At one point, when I showed the script to a couple of people, they felt Chazgo was very nefarious and had something going on, and I didn't want that. So I ended up having him narrate the story, just so he had a little bit more humanity, if you will. He seemed a little bit more relatable in the story. If you go up to that last panel there,
yes,
that one right there, you see Madrakis. He's a descendant of a large creature known as the Great Stormworm, which is essentially a giant kaiju-like electric eel. One byproduct he has is he can vomit lightning, essentially. He stores it in his gizzard. Just like how a skunk has its smelly defense mechanism, or a cobra has venom in its
listen, I'm just okay with dragon breath. You know, dragon breath can be lightning, can be fire, can be poison.
Yeah.
You know?
In his case, he can't do it all the time. He can store up a reserve, just like any other predator's natural abilities, but he can't just Godzilla all over the place all the time.
Which is why he clearly had to lop off that guy's head moments before.
That's right.
And I just love the dude using the shoulder cannon. He's like so happy to use it.
Yeah. At one point, Dunnan is a very nervous individual. When there's conflict, you see him start imitating the zombies, and that's just a coping mechanism he has. He's yelling at the zombies, "Me, I'm deadhead." But there's some bios on this first one. This concept art was done by Jay Sloan. Jay, I liked his work so much that I actually have him making a cover for me, and I had Dan Kemp color it. I will be debuting it in the next couple of weeks, and I'm really excited to share that. And who else? The last person, obviously, you can see the dwarf at the bottom of the screen there. That's Sarlacc Swamp Trudger. He is a full-blooded dwarf. He's taller than little Dunnan there, being just past 4 feet. And his specific people, the dwarves, they left the mountains and wanted to live on the mainland. They became farmers, but as stubborn dwarves can be, they decided to farm in swampland. And they settled right in, and essentially over time they were able to manually terraform their surroundings. And through that, culturally, they're very familiar with hunting down and pacifying things that go bump in the night. He is very devout to something that is only known as the divine, and he felt compelled to move into his hometown Ivywood and erect a church. And not to stuff his beliefs down anybody's throat or anything, but just feel like he can make a difference and help those less fortunate. And because his devotion has been so consistent and strong, he actually does have some gifts. They're minor and passive, but the things that he can do are very, very potent, which is really cool. This as I mentioned in the first handful of pages of issue 1 with the undead outbreak, he's just in his regular robe. He's not wearing the stuff he would go out into the wilderness with. He pulls a hatchet out of his the back of his robe, and just with a hatchet, he's swinging along just with the rest of the best of them, which is really cool.
All right, so let's ask you some fun questions about your characters.
Yes.
You know, which of your characters would win a karaoke battle, and what song would they sing?
Karaoke battle. Okay, so these guys aren't in modern time. So can I make up?
Oh
the
no,
song?
they are plucked. They are plucked from their realm for these scenarios.
Okay, so they're in our world and they have to pick our world's music. To clarify,
They can pick even their world's music, but
Okay, okay.
what's it gonna be?
I would pick the most outgoing, the biggest people person I'd say would be Dunnan. He would be the most inclined to be able to go and meet a bunch of random people and start a conversation. Or if it was karaoke night, I don't think the other three would be so inclined. And if Dunnan were to do that, I think he would choice of I'll pick two. I'll do a modern one. The song "Why Can't We Be Friends"? I think that would be a good one.
Mhm.
And if he was making up music or heard, it would be something about a story in his life of investing into something that paid off later. So it would be some type of bard ballad or something to that equivalent.
Very nice, very nice. Although I kind of like you're picking Dunnan right away. Which which of your characters would thrive on a reality show like Survivor?
Survivor?
Mm-hmm.
I would pick Chazgo. So one thing I haven't said about Chazgo, obviously, he disguises himself, but he actually works for. He's a representative of a noble. So all of these humans are scared of Argers. None of them know he's an Arger, and he's ascended his way up the ranks of working directly with nobles. If he was ever found out, they'd probably kill him on sight. So for him to sneakily fit in that well, I think he would be the best to fit in as in a episode of, or in a season rather of Survivor.
All right, that sounds good. All right, if one of these characters were running for public office, which one would it be, and what would their campaign slogan be?
That's easy. Sarlacc. Sarlacc already is a public figure, although it's minor and it's not a political figure, but he makes sure that his cause is well known within the town of Ivywood where this takes place. Ivywood, it basically throughout this comic, there's a new drug circulating. It's called Weave, and Sarlacc. The first time you see him in the comic, he's actually speaking to three junkies who are not completely of their senses, and he sends them to his church to get some food and rest their heads and get their head in a better state. I think he would be the most inclined to run for office. A close second would be Chazgo, but Chazgo, I think, was too careful to want to ascend that high and get exposed.
Right.
I think Sarlacc's slogan would be something around the lines of "Let's be good people." I think it would be worded a lot better than that, but I think his campaign would be on people learning how to be I shouldn't say humans, because there's a bunch of different races of creatures in this, but people being decent people to others. I think that would be his front line. And a lot of that would probably be fundamental based off of his devotion to the divine. And I'm not saying he wouldn't talk about those things, but I think it would be secondary to his main message to make sure it's more politically unifying.
Interesting. All right. Of these characters, which one has the most ridiculous side hustle?
Side hustle. Well, go back to Chazgo. Chazgo's side hustle is nobody actually knows who the hell he is. With the exception of these other three, nobody knows he's an Arger, so most people don't actually know him. He's this Zeno or Farron is the name he's taken on as this human. Nobody else knows this guy. One of the things I thought Jay Sloan did well, I think he draws one of your characters runs for Chazgo. Being an Arger, I wanted him to look like, you know how individuals, there's some type of instinct. I know there's a study on this. Most animals, if they see something that looks like they're kind but is slightly off, it's exceptionally eerie. And I've heard studies that explain it's like instinctively you're trained to look for wolf in sheep's clothing. That doesn't look quite right. It's probably going to expand and try and eat me or something. I wanted Chazgo to look like when you see him, he doesn't look quite right. And you see the expression on his face. That's just basically his RBF, if you will. He's just being himself. But if you saw that at a person in the middle of a room and looked at you like that, you wouldn't feel right. And I wanted to really promote the message of don't judge a book by its cover. And for him, he's always disguising his cover because of this everybody's scared of his kind.
I like how like you're describing like an ocelot, you know, like you know, or a glass octopus, you know, like very like hauntingly beautiful, but totally not aggressive.
Yes. And can you restate the question? I was going somewhere with that.
What with who has the most ridiculous side hustle?
Okay, side hustle. Yes. Okay, so the most ridiculous side hustle. There's two others. So let's go down to Madrakis. We haven't talked about him too much.
Okay.
A Madrakis is although he's over 350 pounds and clears 6.5 feet, his most intimidating or most powerful thing about him is actually his brain. And he's a amateur wizard. He likes studying the arcane. He hasn't had much opportunity to do so. But there is one scene in the comic in issue 1 where you see him catch an undead individual by the throat, and he just lights the thing's head on fire and throws it aside and says, better less mess this way, instead of like hacking them to shreds inside of a building. So I think that's a really cool side hustle, especially for issue 2 coming out. You get to see a little bit more of what he can do magically. He wears this ceremonial armor. He doesn't know too much about his people. He was hatched as an egg from humans. He has human parents. Essentially, he's adopted. Any little piece of information that he can get about his people, he absorbs a lot. So his armor is brass and it's ceremonial. But if you look at him, you would think that he's a mercenary or something like that. He's not really a good fighter. He swings a sword hard, but not skillfully, is the best way to put it. And the last side hustle, I'll say, it's actually not for money, is Sarlacc. There are times he will go outside of his city boundaries to solve an issue. Caravans that are going missing along a road, he would be the kind of person that can track, identify, and help solve a problem like that. He's really good at understanding how to handle monsters, regardless of whether he's the best to do it or not. This would be the kind of the thing he does without any type of recognition. He just gets the job done so people can live on accordingly.
Because of his faith.
Within reason, yeah. He just, all in all, although he does believe being good to others, and he does feel there is, for lack of better wording, a religious influence there, but he's really driven. Good people should just be doing good things. No different than like a Peter Parker. He's not doing it for any other reason but to make a atonement for Uncle Ben and try and be a good person, right?
Yeah, that's true, right? Exactly. Especially because it's like, oh, with great power comes great responsibility. I didn't listen.
Yes.
You know. Oh, I'm sorry. With great power, there must come great responsibility.
Yes.
I should get those right over time. All right, sir. Do you recall that I gave you a homework assignment to bring 5 comics with you?
You've got me caught. I can grab them. You let me know.
You grab them.
Detail. Okay, I'm gonna grab them. Be right back. Apologies on this.
You do that. I'll do shout outs. You know. Shout out tonight. I'm going to start with the immortal Biggie Shaq, who happens to be live right now. And is that Journo with him? No, he's watching Journo. But anyhow, Immortal Biggie Shack, go check him out if you haven't. Go show the man some love. You know, he puts in the time. He's all over the place. He's also on The Hunt. And The Hunt is another good one for us to go look at. The Hunt is over on Tony Sanders' stream. You know, Tony Sanders, The Hunt. Let's see it. There we go. So I missed the most recent one, War Games, NWO versus The Hunt. But we could check that out. I constantly, look at this. I have this set up for notifications. I never get notifications for The Hunt, and then I completely forget it's on Tony's channel, and I end up asking the same question over and over and over again. Every single time. Well, let's continue. Let's head over to somebody also near and dear to me. And that's Who Dat Comics. And we got graphic content with Who Dat and Boston Chris. You could check them out. And stuff that they're watching, which apparently they've watched some Ninja Turtles, which is great. You know, also Who Dat has some, you know, live auctions as well. You can follow him on Shortbox, you know. And he's got his unboxings and everything, although some of them are a little older. And then some of them inspired me to pick up a few things this year, that's for sure. All right. So that's it for shoutouts. Go check out Tony Sanders, Who Dat, and the Immortal Biggie Shack. Go give them a try. All right, sir. You are now officially in the hot seat. You've got 5 books. You've got a theme of your choice. Now, do you want to tell me the theme, or do you want me to guess the theme?
So the theme is going to be, hold on. I got to get them together. It's going to be scary things.
Ooh.
So that's a little abstract, but it ties together. All right. So the first one I'm going to do is the first book that was ever sent to me. Now, I review comics on the side. I have 3 reviews coming out. I've done almost 30. So this one was a nice little one. It was sent to me by, this is the Eclipse Stone Sovereign. This one I haven't fully read through yet. So I'm sure you have your own share of, I'm going to call it is a first world problem. You get X amount of comics. You just don't have enough time to read, and then they get backlogged. Eventually you catch up to them. So this one, essentially
I would have no idea what you're talking about.
I love it.
I grab my comics, I read them, I put them in the box, and I keep going.
Oh man, it's go back 10 years, no problem. Now, father of 3, wife.
It's a problem.
It's,
I gotta tell you,
a good problem to have. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, but I do buy less. You know,
you buy less.
Like that,
yeah, I understand.
That's definitely part of it, because it's like, nope, I'm gonna start cutting some of you free.
Yeah. So this one, it's called Sovereign, the Eclipse Stone, and it's done by Tim Hines. And Tim, this book, every page is drawn by a different artist. It's a very interesting concept, and it is a tale with a twist. One you've heard before, but it's got a twist where it has the existence of werewolves and vampires, and it takes place in far into the future, and it's about a specific individual, essentially like a Celine from Underworld, who is a little bit more gifted than others, and it goes down a rabbit hole of being chased by government, which is predominantly run by vampires, and it's all over the place. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy that one. The reason that is part of the theme is because vampires and werewolves usually are coincide with scares, depending on the story being told. For the next one, I'll get this one. I haven't read yet, but we have Midnight Suns. This starts Blood Hunt.
Midnight Suns.
And I haven't gotten into yet, and I've got a lot of catching up to do. But it is obviously horror themed, and it is a heck. I mean, just looking at that cover, as I've already stated, I'm a big Ghost Rider fan, so I'm sold just on the imagery of him and Blade duking it out.
The cover is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. The interior art is good. I don't know if it's gonna story-wise is gonna live up to it for you.
I understand. But, I've heard some mixed reviews, and I want to give it a chance.
Blood Hunt was more good than bad.
I hear you.
Which is nice to say about a crossover like that.
Yeah, larger crossovers, it's hard to do. I like it when Marvel doesn't do crossovers all the time. So when it happens, it's huge. Like if you think about in the 90s, the biggest crossovers, Age of Apocalypse, Maximum Carnage. We don't talk about the Clone Saga, and but they were very far apart. And 2000s, I think the last one before life got in the way was Fear Itself. House of M, big fan of House of M. But there was a certain part in time where it was just crossovers galore, and I thought Marvel take a step back, have a breath, and do a really, really good one. But I'm looking forward to Blood Hunt, so I think that's going to be a lot of fun. The one we've been talking about all day is, of course, the Madcaps.
Yes.
Madcaps is number one. It's horror themed because it deals with a situation involving the undead and a what appears to be a correlation with a local drug problem. So issue 1 of 3 is finished. Issue 2 is coming out in April.
I like how you call it a local drug problem, but yet zombies is on the table. You know?
Yeah. And
local drug problem.
Issue number 1 has already been shipped out. I have no problem talking about it, but in the back half of issue 1, these 4 friends, they're inclined to believe that this substance, it's called weave, it has something to do with that undead outbreak. That's just issue 1. By issue number 3, it's I've said this on other podcasts, bump, set, and spike, as they say in volleyball. Issue number 3 spikes, and it spikes hard, and it's going to be great. So it's torture not talking about this story. I don't know how else to say it.
I can't talk about it. Y'all need to pick it up somehow, some way.
But yeah,
Kickstarter.
So Kickstarter, it's going to be selling copies of issue 1 and 2. So anybody who hasn't read this thing, they can catch up, no problem. I've been getting some good positive reviews, which is very reassuring. It's really cool to be on the other side of a comic book and actually producing it and having people read it and enjoy something that came from my imagination. So I really
hope to be there by the end of the year.
Right on, man. Right on. All right. So comic book number 4 is Fantastic Four, issue number 374.
Oh, with the new FF versus the original FF.
So I can almost say this theme is Ghost Rider themed, but that's coincidental this time. The reason this is part of the theme is when they start fighting out, eventually Wolverine gets a little too upset and slashes the Thing across the face. And this was just before the whole Heroes Reborn onslaught stuff. So the Thing had this big scar on his face and he wore a mask. When the Heroes Reborn and Return happened, he came back without the scars on his face. But that was very shocking at the time. So that's kind of like a scare, if you will.
Yeah. And I remember the Thing wearing the metal mask and everything afterwards.
Yes. Yeah. So that was that issue, which is really cool. One of my favorite things is seeing Wolverine try to use his claws to get to Reed Richards, and then Sue Richards covering his claws in an invisible force field, and then Reed saying, "That's not. You don't have to do that, honey. It's okay."
I'm rubber.
Yeah. My rubber body is far more permeably resistant than his super hyper sharp adamantium blades. And the last comic I'm going to show here is really, really funny. It's kind of tongue in cheek, but it is, the scary part is Superman showing off his chest hair, in a free comic book by Mad Magazine.
And full nipples too.
Yeah, full. So there's a scare.
I mean, not for me, but you know.
But I just felt that was kind of a tongue-in-cheek one, of course. But
I mean, if you know, I was gonna say, if you want to scare. There we go.
That's great. There you go. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, those were my 5 randoms with a random common theme amongst them. Like I already said, I'm looking forward to Blood Hunt. Just I want to have my own opinion over it, you know, and it's it'll be nice to get some of these to read issues off
I
the
think
list.
you're gonna have a decent amount of fun with Blood Hunt, and I look forward to your thoughts in the finale.
Right on.
Very right on. All right, sir. So I'm just confirming I have everything in the description below because, oh my, what is wrong with me? Is it me or is it my computer? My computer's like, nah, we're not gonna do nothing. It's like you get to have none of the things. I set up dual monitors for this and everything, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not working. All right, so I believe everything is in the description. I'm double checking that it's in the description. All right, so the link is there for the Madcaps Facebook page, how to connect with Ray on Facebook. And the Kickstarter link is there for the pre-launch details on issue number 2, which I will give you a glimpse of right now. And there it is, the Madcaps issue 2.
Beautiful.
A successful interrogation of a drug peddler brings out protagonist to the territory of its distributor.
So one thing I will say about this second issue, well, actually I'll say it about all 3 issues. So I'm sure every human being, when they hit a certain age, they don't get to see their core circle of friends anymore. And the times you really do, even if it's 5 minutes in a parking lot or sitting down for supper at a restaurant or going over to one of their houses and catching up on things, and maybe one person's got a bit more gray hair or a bit more weight, or meet the new baby, even if you see them for a smidgen of time, it's recharging. And you say, you know what, I really, really needed that. And this comic book is an homage to that level of camaraderie. As already stated, issue 1 is about these 4 friends getting back together to meet up, and they get pulled into this weird little side quest, if you will. But if anybody's ever, if I'm speaking your language about meeting up with old friends, I guarantee you will appreciate this story. It's done through the medium of fantasy and expressed through the medium of comic book. And I guarantee you that if you have friends that you can relate to on that level, you will enjoy this story. And the payoff, it's three acts, 3 issues, beginning, middle, end. There's not 60 years of lore that you have to know leading into this to understand certain details, like insider baseball, if you will. It is a complete story that anybody can pick up and appreciate from start to finish. So if I'm saying anything of interest to you listening,
it's really interesting how you phrased it about like how it's recharging. You have that moment to reconnect with friends, and I was like, and of course this is why I target friends without children. But look,
I love it. But
that's not true. No, but we try to make the best of everything. When I go see my goddaughter, she's up and then she goes down at like 5 o'clock, and then we can like sit and play a board game.
Yes. And the older you get, it's not a bad thing, but there's life you have to address before you can dive into leisure. So I've got to pay bills. I have to do this, that, the other thing. Maybe I only see my friends face to face every 6 months to a year. For me, it's usually longer because I live across country. But if anybody is really relating to this, I guarantee you, you want to follow this pre-launch page. You'll be able to get both issue 1 and 2. It's all they're standalone issues, but with that said, they are both also a big lead up to that final act, issue 3, which comes out after. It's going to be a really good time, and I guarantee you that the payoff is huge.
Excellent. I was going to say, and my notification is officially on. We all saw it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else you want to share with us before we end things tonight?
The only other thing I'll say is, I know it's already in the description, but if you're looking for me online, you can find me as DM Ray on Facebook. DM means Dungeon Master due to my playing on tabletop RPGs. You can also find me, rather on Facebook, you can also find the Madcaps Facebook page. You can follow that for updates. You can also find me as Raymond the DM on Instagram, and the what is considered controversial now, I like to call it Twixter. You can find me as Raymond the DM on there as well. Those are all my contacts. I'm looking forward to, in the next, I think, 2 weeks, there is going to be some cover reveals, and I'll start showing some art. But more importantly, this is the first time I'm saying it anywhere. This is exclusive, Cliff, on your stream here. So
exclusive.
I am doing a line art contest. Now, at the end of issue 1, I had somebody actually give me fan art before this issue was done. They just liked the look. So this is David Samay. Shout out to David Samay. I can't show it too well here, but he drew up all the characters and he colored them up by his friend Brian Magne, apologies. I'm flattered. It's very, very cool to see people drawing stuff from my imagination. With that said, I want another piece of fan art in issue number 2. So if anybody listening right now knows somebody that's looking to get noticed, I'm looking for pencil and ink. And here's the big kicker. It is going to be colored by Dan Kemp, the Spawn colorist from 50 to 150 issues. So if you're looking, we'll talk in DMs, but you will be getting copies of the book for free, of course. That'll be you'll be awarded accordingly, and it's going to be really, really awesome. I will be announcing this officially on January 1st, but this is 3 days ahead, and I'm very excited to get this going. So anybody listening, tell them to follow the Madcaps, because on the 1st I'll be officially announcing it, and I'm going to be looking for contestants, and they'll be in issue 2 forever. It'll be you'll be immortalized with a professional colorist who's colored Todd McFarlane, Capallo. He's worked with people like Chance Wolfe and why can't I think of his name? Created Deadpool. Rob Liefeld. Mr. Liefeld. I always say Liefeld. I don't know why. But anyways, this guy has been rolling in the game for a very long, long time. And if you're looking to get noticed and be colored, having your work colored by top tier, arguably I would say world caliber colorist. That's what I like to say. This is follow. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. If you're,
I just DM'd one of my friends right away. I'm like, get in there.
Beautiful. Yeah, you tell them to follow the pre-launch page, follow the Facebook page where I'll be announcing. I'll be announcing everywhere else, but those are the safest ones. They are the earliest to get announced. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what people have to offer. And I'm not even going to pick the winner. Dan Kemp is going to pick the winner.
Ooh.
So whatever one speaks to him, I want to color that one, or I want to color that one. I'm going to leave it up to him.
I love it. That's what I like to hear. That's awesome. All right, sir. Well, that was great news. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yes, sir.
You know?
Exclusive here.
Exclusive here. Cliff on Comics. Oh, I switched to the coffee logo. I meant to be on cocktails. Oh no.
Coffee's okay.
I know, but this is not why. This is why I shouldn't drink. Oh no! All this time I'm in the wrong spot while I'm sitting here drinking rum and Coke. It's Coke Zero and rum.
Coke Zero and rum. Well,
I
you
don't
got to
need
keep
it.
the
I don't know
calories
why.
down, of course, you know.
I don't need all those extra calories from sugar. The rum will take care of that. All right. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
We'll
This was
do, we'll
great
do
time.
something. We'll do something similar to this again. When is the Kickstarter starting?
Kickstarter's going to launch in April.
All right. So as we get closer to April, we'll do something like this again.
I'm definitely game.
All right. Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ooh, do we have final comments? We do. Thank you, JSS. You, sir. You're a champion. I appreciate you. All right. Good night, folks. Thank you for tuning in. This is it for Comics and Cocktails and Comics and Coffee with Cliff for this year. I do have a couple. I'm on the council tomorrow at 5, the council Monday at 8. Tuesday, we're doing our big giveaway at 7 p.m. And then that's it for this year. And I'm going to try and squeeze out a couple hits between now and then. And then my birthday is New Year's Day.
Nice. Can I give 2 quick shout outs? I forgot 2 shout outs. I know I've already said this one. Philip Russert and Philbo Publishing, who have been supporting this book the whole way through. Check him out. He's got some big things. He's actually in the new year going into distribution. It's going to be pretty wild. He's going to be basically like Diamond for the little guy, which is going to be great. And the other,
did he make that official news?
Yes, he made it official.
Yes, because he swore in secrecy 3 months ago.
we're on the same page there, of course.
Yeah.
The other one, the shout out I wanted to give, I know I'm going to remember as soon as our podcast is done, but definitely shout out to Phil. That's all I have to say.
Is the person in mind an artist, a writer?
No, it raised. Phil has that type of effect. His presence drew my entire attention, and I forgot the other one, but that's okay.
Your wife for tolerating all of this crap while you pursue your personal dreams.
Yeah, well, my wife and kids, I see them every day, and I spend most of my life with them, and I'm very fortunate to do so. So definitely,
you and ultimate Peter Parker. Good job. Oh my God. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed, I hope. And until next time, love you all, folks. And, well, I'll say it in case you don't get to see me later saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.